Absolutely. We think there's demand for exposure to a large number of those altcoins. I think that you'll see assets like XRP and other major assets get their ETFs relatively soon. We've seen filings from the SEC, not talking about any specific filing, but we've seen those moving through the system. We're going to wake up in 6 months and investors are going to be able to use high quality, low cost ETFs to access the top 10, maybe top 20 ETFs. And then the next exciting thing beyond that is you're going to start to see ETFs that package those together in diversified exposures. Those index-based ETFs, I actually think could be one of the surprises of the market. I could think they could be, bigger even than the Ethereum ETF. So there is definitely more coming from Bitwise. We've entered the ETF era of crypto, and I think that's a very good thing for investors.
What does having a spot XRP ETF mean for the coin specifically and for Ripple broadly?
Well, look, I think anytime you are seeing the kind of trust and institutional dynamic of an ETF, making it easier to access and bringing capital into the XRP ecosystem, that's good. It's not lost upon me, ETH as a token was kind of lagging the market in terms of the overall market activity in the spring. And then the ETH ETFs went live and ETH went on a tear. I don't think that's a big surprise. You saw people easier access coming in. I think the first ETH ETF, grew to $1 billion, very, very quickly. I can't remember the exact timeline, but I think you're going to see that happen in the XRP ecosystem because there's a lot of demand from people who don't have the skill set or interest in launching a Coinbase account or what have you, and they want to have exposure to this asset class. So I think it's overdue. It's frustrating that some of these things have taken so long, but I'm not yet saying it's going to happen next week. I know people on the panels have said it's happening next week. I've heard that said before, so I'm not going to count on it. But it's obviously very, very soon, and I think that's good for the industry.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of your favorite crypto news-related channel. And believe me, today is going to be an exciting episode. We've got new updates from Bitwise and from Grayscale in regards to their XRP ETF going live. We're also going to show you guys how JP Morgan predicted $170,000 Bitcoin in the next 12 months. And this coincides with the fact that it was just revealed JP Morgan is now sitting on $324 million worth of Bitcoin. Wait until these companies begin buying alts. That's all I can say in regards to that. I'm also going to be playing the very famous video, Why I Hold XRP. So guys, if you haven't seen that video before, it's gone viral several times. We're going to wrap up Conspiracy Friday today by showing you why so many people hold the XRP token and what we're anticipating towards the back end of this year. Now, again, we're going through a correction and it seems like uncertainty and fear is at an all-time high. We've got Bitcoin really just dictating the momentum of the market today. Bitcoin's trading at 101,000. Ethereum's about 3,300. XRP, $2.24. And I showed you guys the chart at the beginning of yesterday's episode where it showed us just ranging. For XRP, really since we broke out in last February, we've been ranging between $2 and about $2.80 for 99% of that time. Now, there's been some exceptions. We had a run up to 365. We had a run up to 330 in January. We collapsed all the way down to 150 in October. But what I'm seeing from the XRP community right now and from just newer crypto investors is more fear than I've ever witnessed in my life. I remember at the end of the 2021 bull market, just to remind people who weren't there, the market ended in euphoria. Bitcoin was $69,000 and every social media site was screaming $100,000 Bitcoin. Seems like the complete opposite now. Now we're sitting at $100,000 Bitcoin and everybody is screaming for that $70,000, $80,000 price target. I just don't believe we're going to get there. Now, again, I could be right. I could be wrong. Nobody has a crystal ball here, but the bears are overly confident. You guys probably see it just as much as I do. I spend a lot of time listening to the XRP community, kind of figuring out where people's heads are at. And you guys can tell, even veteran crypto investors, they're spreading a lot of fear. They're spreading a lot of uncertainty. One thing we know for sure, Ripple is developing real world products that are going live right now. We have the Clarity Act on the precipice of being passed probably in November. And we will also have XRP ETFs going live 6 days from today. Reminder, the Canary Capital CEO stated on stage at the Ripple SWELL event, he's anticipating that the first XRP ETF goes live on November 13th with that filing. That's already sitting at the SEC. So again, Grayscale could go live, Bitwise could go live, and Canary Capital's CEO stated they're anticipating we go live here in November of 2025. We already have 1,500 live listeners, 800 watching on the new YouTube. If you guys are enjoying this content, smash that like button. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe to the channel. We do an update every single day, 11 a.m. Eastern and 5:30 p.m. Eastern time. Now, somebody's asking the $1 trillion question, right? Abs, are we in a bear market or nah? I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball, but here's what I can tell you. My conviction is nah. N-A-W, like you wrote in the chat. I just don't feel it. I've been in this market for a while. I know what indicators to look for typically when the market is peaking, and none of those indicators have flashed. Retail exposure is at a real low right now. This is another piece of data that I found out about 48 hours ago. Typically at the top of the market, and we've all been through this if you've been in crypto for a few years now, at the top of the market, retail investors flood in. So you look at a market where it's maybe 10 million retail investors, and then in a 3-month period, it goes to 40 million brand new retail investors. There's been none of that. There's been none of that mass onboarding of brand new retail investors for the institutions to take profit from. Instead, what we've seen over the past year is that the big institutions who take profit, those are the ones that are accumulating. I mean, it's all on public record. You can see it through the ETF inflows and through the balance sheet reveals that we've gone through, like I'm going to show you later on today. Now, I just realized we're 6 minutes in. Just wanted to say massive thank you to every single new subscriber, guys. We are quickly approaching 100 memberships or subscriptions, I guess, on the new channel. So big thank you to every single person who signed up and became a member. And I did add the new emoji, guys. So if you're a member and you type GEC in chat, you'll see that brand new emoji that was given to me by, I think his username is Photographer in chat. I want to make sure I give credit where credit is due. He's in here right now. So Photographer, throw your name up there. Say, I created this. I'm going to put it up so that our entire live chat can see that as well. There he is, guys. So Photographer, this guy right here, he DM'd me that GEC emoji. So if you're a member, it pops up automatically in chat. I thought that was really cool. So I want to say a big thank you on today's episode. And with that being said, let's dive into some of the content that we have. As you guys know, a lot of fake news, a lot of misconceptions going on out there. For a while, we were being told that Ripple, XRP, it's a Ponzi scheme. It's a fake asset. There's no value to it. It's a stable coin. A lot of Ripple's business isn't going to add value to XRP. Now we've seen that narrative flip. And it's funny because Michael Arrington, he actually follows this show. So shout out to Michael Arrington, guys. And I commented on this and he responded, but he said, these arguments that Ripple is only worth their XRP holdings and therefore is worthless because XRP is worthless and all the people who own XRP have been duped and lack the agency required to fairly stunning amounts of cognitive dissonance to pull off. So what he's saying is this person's either a liar or they're doing mental gymnastics here to try to make this sound truthful. But this is the article that got a lot of attention. We're only going to spend about 2 minutes on this because a couple of details I just wanted to provide. Are investors in Ripple's $500 million raise just buying discounted XRP? The company raised funds at a $40 billion valuation, but it already holds $80 billion worth of the XRP token. Now, we'll go through this really quickly because I'm sure many of you saw this, but I just wanted to point out a couple of key details. Ripple has been on a buying spree of its own as of late. In the last few months, it bought Palisade, a custody platform, Hidden Road, a prime brokerage, Rail, a stablecoin infrastructure platform. It also recently launched the RLUSD, its stablecoin, which crossed $1 billion in threshold. Its XRP token is expected to get its first XRP ETF, spot ETF, in the United States sometime next week. And it's also applying for a national banking charter with the Office of the Comptroller of Currency. So again, how can you say that Ripple is only valued on their XRP holdings when all these acquisitions are outside of their holdings of XRP? But we'll continue and kind of point out the hypocrisy here. Despite this momentum, it seems hard to justify anything close to a $40 billion valuation, especially given the fact that the XRP ledger still generates less than $200,000 a month in its way of fees. So what gives? So again, the big issue that I have with this is that if you want a network to be scalable, it has to be cheap and easy for everyone to use. The fact that Ethereum, sometimes when the network gets congested, is charging users $1,000 to send $100, it makes no sense. It doesn't even, that's the inverse of why people are in crypto. People are in crypto to get out of these segregated and expensive systems. They want this open network, and that's what the XRP ledger provides. Well, this article is putting a negative spin on that, saying because the XRP ledger is so fast, so cheap, so accessible, it's not generating enough revenue for the network. But people aren't in this to earn money from the network. People aren't in this to generate fees that correspond back to XRP's value. People are in this to stake their portion in the future of finance. And we recognize this, many of our community members, 5, 6, 7 years ago. Swift recognized this 10 years ago. When Brad Garlinghouse said at the SWELL event, they didn't allow Ripple into their Sibos event 10 years ago. So they saw the writing on the wall. This isn't about fees generated and network revenue. This is about ease of access and expanding the capabilities of blockchain. So it's misleading for newer investors who don't have that kind of conception of this market. According to multiple investors, the venture capitalists who spoke with Unchained, on the condition of anonymity, real leader right here, right? He's only going to make anonymous statements that are misleading. Don't worry about it. This deal has very much to do with buying into Ripple's XRP holdings, likely at a steep discount on the spot price. The company is not worth anything outside of its XRP holdings, says the very courageous anonymous source. No one uses their tech, no uses on the net worth or blockchain. One prominent venture capitalist stated, Ripple's equity isn't likely worth very much on its own, certainly not 40 billion. So live chat, let's get your opinion as we kind of go through this, and then I'm going to get into the newer updates for today. If you believe that Ripple is worth a $40 billion evaluation, throw a 1 in chat. If you think that's an unfair evaluation, throw a 2 in chat. But I just wanted to kind of point out the hypocrisy there. And I want to give a massive thank you for the $10 donation. Stone and Land for the $9.99. Big thank you, my friend. He said, if ZEC can 10x in a month, why can't XRP? Yes, why? Certainly frustrating. Thank you, Abs. Well, a few reasons, guys. We're not ZEC, right? Or ZEC, whatever you guys like to call that coin. We're doing something completely different. We are playing a much longer game, and that longer game has much more profitability in the end. And the reason for that is because if we are correct in our vision for what Ripple is developing and the XRP ledger being the necessary bridge asset in the Ripple ecosystem, we're not talking about a 10x. We really aren't. Jake Klaver, shout out to Jake, right? A lot of people still waiting for that $1,000 in the next 60 days. And I'm going to be interviewing Jake. So I'm excited to have that conversation. But those people, even though they may be wrong about the timeline, are right in their conception of the market. That eventually all assets will be tokenized, and eventually the settlement layer mechanism of the XRPL will be one of the main use cases. When that happens, the value is going to go through the roof. It'll be off the charts, and we're all really just waiting on that moment. But until that happens in the crypto space, it's pure speculation. We're all speculating. And a big thank you to Nick Small, brand new member, guys. Shout out to all the new members. Someone said, anyone buy Zcash? And good morning, everybody. Good morning, Erica. We appreciate you as well. Guys, I can do a little bit of Zcash coverage because Blockchain Backer kind of highlighted this, but I wanted to show you some really interesting videos out of Brad Garlinghouse from the fireside chat he had with Pantera. Now, I can give you guys a little bit of insight on this. Just keep it between us and the chat. I have a Wall Street friend who, I can't say names or anything, who has a meeting in the next few weeks scheduled with Pantera Capital to discuss blockchain. I'm going to be able to share some of that insight. And what's really great about that, Pantera is sitting on stage with Brad Garlinghouse here. So I'm excited to kind of share that insight and see what's coming for the crypto market when it comes to TradFi. We do have 2,400 live listeners. If you're enjoying this content, smash that like button and let me know some of your thoughts in chat as well. Let's dive right into this Brad Garlinghouse update. There's 3 major clips I want you to see. So first of all, XRP is not Ripple. I wanted to dive into that. That's kind of where we're going to start off the video, actually. That'll be the most valuable clip. So with that being said, what's the difference between XRP and Ripple, and how do these products benefit from one another? Let's hear what Brad has to say.
Now, if we zoom into Ripple, I've even been chastised by you for confusing Ripple Labs and XRP. Could you help the audience know, essentially, what is their XRP? What's it do? What's Ripple Labs? And how should people understand it?
Yeah. I'll start by saying that one of the big sensitivities about is it Ripple, when people conflate XRP as Ripple, I bristle because to some degree that's at the heart of the lawsuit with the SEC. Like their contention that XRP is a security. It's like, no. You can own XRP, you don't own Ripple. We raised a seed round of funding in 2012 and a Series A and et cetera. I mean, Ripple at its core is an enterprise software infrastructure player selling blockchain and crypto solutions to the enterprise. We started with financial institutions, banks, started with cross-border payments. We now have custody, stablecoin. We acquired a prime broker earlier this year. And so, we're continuing to expand the suite of services, but it's all at the infrastructure layer from a B2B point of view. XRP, we are the most interested party in XRP's success. We own 41% of the XRP that exists. We care immensely about the vibrancy, the utility, the liquidity of the XRP ecosystem. But the nice thing is, compared to when I went to that crypto CEO conference at your home, over a decade ago.
Quick comment on that, guys, is that's something that Johnny Krypto has always stated on our program, is that people will use the negative fact that Ripple owns 41% of the XRP, but it also means that Ripple, which is the most active part of the XRP ecosystem, is the most incentivized to see XRP succeed. And if we see an asset like XRP go from 50 cents to $3, like we did last November, who profits off that more than anybody else? More than myself, more than the live chat, more than Jake Claver? It is Ripple. Ripple is the company that will profit off the inevitable growth of XRP. So very important to keep in mind when you see articles promoting the success of Ripple and their ecosystem without promoting the underlying success of the XRP ledger, which is driving the majority of that ecosystem. Here's what Brad continues.
The breadth of participants in the XRP ecosystem has changed dramatically. And so Ripple is still the most interested party and the largest party. And anything Ripple does, we want to build products and services that customers love and are happy to pay for, and have the symbiotic relationship of driving liquidity in the XRP ecosystem. If it's doing good things for XRP and customers will pay us for them, that is a magical place for us to be. And honestly, we don't think as much about, can we maximize the last dollar of revenue? Because if it's driving good things in the XRP ecosystem, that's good for us from a balance sheet point of view over here.
And what have you found to be the most current use cases? What are people using it for?
Well, I actually think I love conferences like this because you do have a lot of entrepreneurs coming up here and talking about real solutions. I think one of the challenges for crypto at large is you don't have that many scaled real world use cases where these technologies are actually improving people's lives in some way. Payments has always been something that I think people have said, okay, that makes a lot of sense. And part of that is because the SWIFT infrastructure is kind of 50 years old. It hasn't changed much. Most people in this room, I'm guessing, have sent a wire transfer at some point overseas, and it takes a long time and they charge you a lot. I literally just had this experience recently. I'm going through the Wells Fargo, I bank with Wells Fargo. I'm going through the Wells Fargo, I'm wiring like $25,000. And they give me, a fixed exchange rate. I Google on another screen, like I'm just getting screwed.
Here's what's interesting too, guys. So first of all, what is Brad really saying here? He's saying there's no utility, that blockchain utility, it's not impacting the market. He's kind of working around saying that directly, but that's my big takeaway. And here's a great example of this. I had a good conversation with somebody yesterday. They were talking about investing in a CD, right? And I'm sure our listeners know what that is. When you invest in a CD, you lock up your money for 3 months, let's say, and you get 4% in return. And I'm like, that doesn't sound like a great deal. And they're like, no, there's no risk. It's great because I lock up my money for 3 months. I'm guaranteed 4% back in 3 months. It's awesome. And I said, but if you deposit your money into, let's say, Uphold, and you hold the RLUSD stablecoin, you're going to get 4.7% liquid. So you can move that money at any time and you're earning the rewards. And they're like, I've never heard of that. And so that's real utility. And I know that's a very niche form of utility. There's liquidity risk with that, right? Like if the stablecoin depegs or something with the underlying asset. So it has its own risks and concerns. But think about how outdated of a concept, even like a CD is. You're locking your money up for 3 months and you're getting 4%. Well, inflation, if we're talking real inflation, is probably more than 4% anyways. So you're locking up your capital, you're losing spending power, and they say it's no risk, but the risk is you can't invest that money. You can't put that money into anything earning more than 4%. So if instead of buying a CD, I use the stablecoin, well, here's what you're losing. You're losing an additional 1%. There is a risk there. So think about these things when you think about utility. What blockchain is really going to do, it's going to unlock the ability to have illiquid assets now being liquid and also earning the yield that's typically provided through like a treasury bond or a CD. Keep that in mind, guys. But I thought that speech from Brad Garlinghouse was really great. I think there's about 40 more seconds I want to play for you, and then we'll get into our next topic.
Nothing I can really do. And I think it's only a matter of time before you do have, either people accepting crypto directly, or you have just far more efficient and competitive rails. So Ripple started with cross-border payments because that's a really high friction point in terms of cost and speed. We got slowed down in that journey by the SEC. We really couldn't sell into the US market and some other markets for years. And that has unlocked really just in the last 6 to 9 months where some of the biggest banks are kind of like, okay, we can look at these solutions again.
Great. I'd love your thoughts on how the industry's been organized. There's been a couple different models, right? Bitcoin had the creator ascend into heaven and no longer speak with his disciples, right? And so it never changed. And then you have a lot of protocols have foundations, but they don't have a Ripple Labs type company that's got 1,000 developers building things. You're somewhere in the middle, and I do hear people now say for other protocols, they wish they had a Ripple Labs type thing that can help build things and advocate, and you've been very bold in pushing back on the regulatory side. Where do you think we are in 5 or 10 years with not just XRP, but Ethereum, even Bitcoin? Is it going to have some kind of governance thing? And I would throw into the mix, we're talking a lot about DATs today. You guys are the original DAT, right? You are the original company that owns a bunch of tokens, right?
Yes.
And so where are we as an industry in 5 or 10 years?
So, first of all, I appreciate you saying that. I mean, Ripple has been a fascinating journey and an amazing journey in a lot of ways, but it has been a controversial player at various parts of that journey. As we fast forward to where we are today, I think a lot of people see that there is value in having a champion, a lead voice in some of these things. And we have always tried to think about Ripple as one of the adults in the room of the crypto ecosystem, and really thinking about, even within XRP, there's those that take a maybe more religious view about things. And there always is a balance between amendments to the XRP ledger. It is open source software, and there's been things that have passed on the XRP ledger that Ripple didn't support, which is the nature of open source. But there always has been this tension within XRP about performance that we care very much about. It's very fast per transaction, very low cost per transaction, which makes it great for payments. You could add capabilities, but then you're going to slow it down and it's going to become more expensive. We very much have always believed in a multi-chain world. I think in some ways, by the way, the other original DAT, Consensus, meaning the Joe Lubin's company, in some ways was very analogous to Ripple, thinking about how do we drive the success of the Ethereum ecosystem. They were investing in a ton of different companies. You remember that chapter well, I'm sure. But I think what we have found is it makes sense to have anchor players within an ecosystem.
And that's what I believe the biggest advantage is for the XRP ledger right now, guys, is that Ripple, whether we can say this out loud or not, is driving businesses onto the XRP ledger. And there's always been this kind of like nervousness to call XRP a product of Ripple, because it's not by definition. But Ripple becoming a successful company will drive the success of the XRP ledger. So it doesn't mean that XRP is solely focused on the success of Ripple, but if Ripple succeeds, that's beneficial for the XRP ledger and the XRP token as well. And I've given some great examples of that when it cocomes to usage of the RLUSD stablecoin and things of that nature. But I am going to begin to break down the ETF update because, guys, the ETF race is heating up as Grayscale and Franklin Templeton have joined Canary Capital and Bitwise in turbocharging their S1 updates. And what are we really witnessing here? We are witnessing a sprint through the finish line for XRP ETFs. Will it be Canary Capital? Will it be Grayscale? Will it be Bitwise? All of these different companies are going to begin offering products in 2025. And I think what's really great about that is that the demand is there. Even when you heard ETF issuer Bitwise, who we're going to talk about in this very topic, their CIO, Matt Hogan, said he believes we could see more demand for these products than we saw for Ethereum. So what do you think is leading him to that conclusion? Well, he's talking to the biggest companies on the planet that are going to be buying these assets. He's talking to investors who want exposure. So there must be more exposure and demand for XRP and Solana than there is for an Ethereum. And that will work in favor of the XRP price chart as we head into the back end of this year. Now, we are already at 433 likes on the episode. If you're enjoying this content, smash that like button. Help us pass 500 likes within the half an hour. It is Conspiracy Friday. We got some fun stuff that we can talk about at the back end of the episode as well. But I wanted to make sure I squeezed in these two topics. I'm going to give you this one very quickly. JP Morgan came out earlier today and predicted $170,000 Bitcoin in the next 6 to 12 months. Chat, I'd love to hear ones if you agree, Twos, if you disagree, will we see $170,000 Bitcoin in the next 12 months? Now, this came on the back of the news that JP Morgan was also holding $320 million worth of Bitcoin. But let me just quickly read through this update, and then we'll get into the XRP ETF information. JP Morgan sees Bitcoin's price reaching $170,000 within the next 6 to 12 months. One's in chat for yes, two's in chat for no. Bitcoin could rise to about $170,000 within this time as leverage resets and its relatively volatile versus gold improves. This is according to JP Morgan. The analysts, led by managing director here, said in a report on Wednesday that the crypto market has corrected close to 20% from its recent highs, with the sharpest decline occurring on October 10th, which was the record liquidation event in perpetual futures. It was the largest in crypto history, followed by smaller liquidations on November 3rd. They said that the November 3rd event came as investor confidence was further shaken by over $120 million balance exploit in the decentralized financial sector, which raised concerns over protocol security. Someone said, why is XRP pumping right now? That's hilarious. Let's see the quote unquote XRP pump. I got to humor myself. We are at 227. So we're pumping, guys. Rocket ships, they're off. And again, this is something interesting too. If you're an XRP investor, pay attention to this really quickly. The 50-day moving average just crossed below the 200-day moving average. This is what's known as a death cross in trading. Now, here's what's great. Typically at moments like this, speculation at an all-time low, death cross is coming in, XRP investors are fearful. That's where we get a market rebound. And so for somebody who's like, why is XRP bouncing? XRP is not bouncing. We've been in a range here. We've been capitulating with the rest of the market. We are ready. We are extremely undervalued. We just had 5 major announcements come out in the past week, and Monica Long put out a tweet kind of summarizing this as well. But guys, XRP is undervalued. The undervalued asset in XRP, from my standpoint, is $3. If we were trading at $3, I'd be saying we're undervalued. So again, we're at $2.25. Institutions are ready to start buying these ETFs, and you have retail investors saying we're going into a bear market. Does that sound like we're going into a bear market? The smart players ready to buy these assets, the dumb money, as am I as a retail investor, the dumb money, those are the people who are fearful. Does that sound like a bear market, or does that sound like a relative bottom? Does that sound like this market may start moving in the other direction? Someone said, good evening, crypto makes XRP pump every day at 11:30. I wish I had that kind of swing and impact. And I do want to give a big thank you for the $4.99. Zeus Fox Knight said, the greatest rewards will always be on the other side of the greatest pain. Patience is key. Great stoic information there, my friend. Really love that. This person commented, Abs, are you ready for the Franklin Templeton ETF? With the market multiplier going between 833 and 125 from Zach Rector, we could see 12 to 15,000 per coin soon. Now listen, Ricky Jones, I love you. I respect you, and I want you to stick around. But I got to say, in my opinion, this gets a fake news. I don't think we're going to see 12 to 15,000 per anytime soon, but I do think $2 is undervalued. And that's very important because, again, I don't think prices are going to collapse or much further than they are today. But with that being said, I don't want to go too sideways there, but let's get into some of the ETF stuff that we can all agree on. These ETFs are about to go live, and that's really cool. Someone said, Abs, you need to launch a GEC meme coin. Big announcement here, guys. I will never be launching a meme coin. I don't want to take money from the people who support me. That's not something I have a vested interest in. And as you guys know, anybody who launches these meme coins, even if they have good intentions, market makers come in, liquidity comes in, and, they go to crap. I'm trying to figure out a polite way to say this. But meme coins, even if their founders have good intentions, typically go all the way up and then all the way down. I never want to do that. I never want to tarnish the reputation of our community in that way. So I'm never going to launch a GEC meme coin. If you ever see a GEC meme coin, you heard it here first, do not buy it. It's not associated with me. I will never do that. So just want to make that very clear. But again, appreciate every single person who's here. I just want to give an update on the likes as we go through this ETF update. We are at 502 likes. Massive thank you guys for helping us reach the goal. 30 seconds until we reach 30 minutes, and we broke past our goal for today. Shout out to you guys for being the best chat in all of crypto. Now let's start breaking this down. The XRP ETF race heats up as Grayscale and Franklin Templeton have just joined Canary Capital and Bitwise in turbocharging the S1. Now, what does this mean? Like I said, These companies are sprinting to the finish line to get the XRP ETF launched while the US government is shut down. So this is something that I've had a change of heart in as well. I didn't think they'd be able to do it. I didn't think they'd be able to get this XRP ETF passed while the government was shut down. Turns out in the past week or so, we learned that was incorrect. So now we're looking at a great situation here. We're looking at a situation where ETFs are going to go live while the government is shut down. That's going to be awesome. And here's why it's awesome. Because these ETFs, these spot products, need to actually go out and buy XRP to offer it on the open market. Great example of this. If Grayscale gets $100 million in ETF demand, they need to have $100 million worth of XRP tokens to offer as shares. So there's a direct correlation between the amount of demand from spot products and the amount of XRP that these companies need to buy. That's something that's really great. It's great for everybody. It's great for us. It's great for our community. It's great for XRP overall. But let's break down some of these updates. I'm just going to zoom in a little bit here, try to fit this onto the screen. Grayscale and Franklin Templeton have joined Canary Capital and Bitwise in filing S1 updates for their registrations for spot XRP ETF, transforming a cautious regulatory wait into a race to list by mid-November. So it's a sprint. It's funny that they use that. It's a sprint to the finish line, guys. All these companies want to be first because then they're going to get the benefit of the marketing that comes with going first. And I had some information I wanted to read for you guys where it was yesterday that Canary Capital CEO, they launched their HBAR ETF, and they had predicted that in the first 4 months, they were going to get, somebody asked a question. Erica, I'm going to get to your question. Just want to keep with the article real quick. They predicted that in the first 4 months for the HBAR ETF, they would see $50 million in inflows. They did that in the first week. So if these companies can get the XRP ETF launched first, and let's say it's Grayscale, they're going to get the benefit of marketing this product as the first ever spot product, and all that volume is going to come in on day one. And these are the companies that will profit from that. So they have a vested interest in getting this passed as well. By removing delaying clauses and adding key operational details, the issuer signaling growing confidence in the SEC's recent guidance has opened a fast track for XRP ETFs to hit the open market. Canary Capital set the tone by trimming the delaying amendment from their S1, now removing the window to November 13th listing date, a move designed to let XRP ETFs go live as soon as exchange and clearing merchants permit. So as soon as the NASDAQ gives them approval, Canary will be live on the NASDAQ. That filing and the stated target date have pressured the rivals like Grayscale, Bitwise, and Franklin Templeton to tidy up their paperwork and lock in a market positioning ahead of what we expect to be a consented debut period. So all of these ETFs going live within just a couple of weeks, we've been predicting that for years here on GEC. I almost said GMC, what used to be GMC. But here's the reality. With these ETFs going live, all this new demand entering at once, that should create a buying pressure that impacts the price in an even better way. And what I'm anticipating, guys, we're going to be overvalued and then we're going to be undervalued. And if this pullback has showed newer investors anything, it's once again, you must have a profit plan. Click on the link below, sign up for Merlin today. I know I talk to our community about this very often. This is an application that I use. You can use it 30 days completely free, created by Johnny Krypto, the man, the myth, the legend himself. And the important part about it, we're going to give you reasonable expectations. You're going to know where you're taking profit. You're going to get tax estimates, and you can track all your crypto in one location without the security risk. Meaning, if you're traveling, you're in an airport, don't log into your ledger, don't log into your Uphold or your Coinbase, because God forbid, but if anything were to get compromised there, all your crypto's at risk. With Merlin, we don't have access to your crypto. So let's say you're tracking your crypto in the airport and you don't want to have the security risk, you could open up your Merlin app, and even if they got in, they'd have zero access to any of your crypto. So it's a big safety concern. Keep that in mind, guys, as we go through this supply shock in late November. Grayscale, a leading institutional force in crypto, filed a detailed early November amendment for its proposed Grayscale XRP Trust ETF, outlining governance, custody, and fee structures. The filing reveals how the firm plans to operate the spot product and underscores its readiness to list immediately once the SEC and the exchanges give it the green light. So again, Grayscale just filed an amendment that we're now, once the NASDAQ and the New York Stock Exchange get the green light, as well as the SEC, this thing's going live. We're going to have an S1 filed for the Grayscale spot product. Now, alongside Bitwise's recent fee disclosures, Canary Capital's accelerated timeline, Grayscale's moves amplify a clear message across the industry that top asset managers are fully primed to launch XRP ETFs the moment approval lands. Franklin Templeton's update was equally significant. The $1.5 trillion asset manager removed an 8A style delay clause from its S1 language, meaning that it would have required the SEC's explicit approval, but it replaced it with the effective automatic effectiveness, meaning once we hit the deadline, Bitwise products goes live, very similar to Canary Capital. This subtle but strategic change streamlines the path to market, signaling Franklin Templeton's confidence that exchanges will move swiftly under the SEC's new generic listing standards. So why the rush? Well, in September, the SEC approved rule changes letting national exchanges adopt generic listing standards for spot crypto and commodity ETFs, a structural shift that shortened up reviews and opens the door for rapid listings. With early mover advantage at stake, issuers are racing to perfect their optimal custody and fee disclosures before exchanges or regulators give the green light. Therefore, the coordinated wave of S1 updates from Grayscale, Franklin Templeton, Canary Capital, and Bitwise has shifted the XRP ETF story from a theoretical approval to a full-scale operational sprint. That's a mic drop claim right there, guys. If you believe we get an XRP ETF in the month of November, smash that like button. If you disagree, leave a comment in the chat. Now, here's the conclusion. Since we read through the majority of that, I feel like we may as well go through the conclusion. The synchronized S1 updates from Grayscale, Franklin Templeton, Bitwise, and Canary signal a turning point for crypto-based ETFs. What began as a cautious regulatory trial has evolved into a full-scale sprint towards mainstream recognition of XRP as a legitimate asset within TradFi. Should approvals arrive in mid-October, these issuers could unlock a new wave of institutional participation and accelerate the fusion of digital assets with regulated markets. The coming weeks may thus mark a defining milestone, not just for XRP, but for the broader future of cryptocurrency investing. And lucky for our live chat and our community, every single one of us is here before these big institutions. And with these big institutions comes millions of new investors, billions of new dollars, and hopefully billions in evaluation added to the XRP price chart, guys. So very cool. Wanted to give a big shout out. We do have 4,200 live listeners, over 1,300 watching on YouTube. If you enjoy this content, smash that like button. Help us pass our likes for today. The like for today, we already reached 572. Can we reach 589 on this amazing episode? Somebody commented, Erica, big thank you to Erica. We love and appreciate you. Abs off topic, but I think the chat would love to know, when will Gonzo and Mario be back? Tell Coach to let them out to play for a little bit. That's a good one, guys. We're going to have Mario and Gonzo back given in due time. Now, just important to remember, this is 100% just my channel. So I'm just kind of doing things kind of how I'd like to do them for the time being. And Mario and Gonzo, we still communicate all the time. They're great friends, and they'll be back at some point. But for the time being, it's probably going to be a lot of solo dolos, some Johnny Cryptos, and that's just how it has to be for the short term because of my own personal opinion. So nothing more really needs to be said in regards to that. You will be seeing Gonzo and Mario. Okay, I want to put that to bed just to let everybody know we love Mario and Gonzo. They're always going to be a part of what I do in some way, shape, or form. So if you're unaware, they're from the Good Morning Crypto show. So if you didn't know about Good Morning Crypto, that was the show that this one turned into essentially. And that's why we do the 11 a.m. stream. So KG, shout out to you for the respect. Someone said, did you get burned too, Abs? I'm not entirely sure what you mean by that. But here we go, guys. Let's get back into the topic. I do want to give a big thank you to Erica too. Big appreciation for Erica. And thank you for the $20 donation. Very much appreciated. I do want to give another shout out to all the new members that we've received in the past week or so. It's been phenomenal. We've already passed nearly 100 members of the Good Evening Crypto community here. And the best part about that, we're going to be giving exclusive videos. We're going to be doing meet and greets and things of that nature. We've already got some plans. By we, I mean Johnny and myself, where we may end up hosting a meet and greet because we want to give our community a chance to come together. And we're not going to do it in a profitable manner where it's like about making money or something like that. We just want to give our community a chance to be in the same room together. And we're going to figure out a way to make that kind of easy and accessible. So if you're a member, you're going to get kind of like first access to that event because we may only end up offering, depending on what the demand is, we may only end up offering, a few dozen seats because we just want it to be fairly intimate in the sense that we want to be able to converse with everybody. We want to be able to share a meal. We want everybody to walk away saying, oh, that was worth the time and effort to go to the event. So we're going to be planning that. It's not going to be conference oriented, but it's going to be much more relationship oriented about getting the community together, sharing a good time, having some fun. And it's not about us making money. So we're going to try to make the cost as low as possible for everybody to attend, but just enough to kind of rent out whatever restaurant or facility we're thinking about. Is it going to be McDonald's? Is it going to be Burger King? We haven't decided yet. And that's a little bit of humor for all you guys out there. But we are 40 minutes into the episode. Want to give a huge shout out and thank you to everybody who showed up for today's show. There was a couple of quicker updates I wanted to give you. I showed you guys this fake news. We kind of went through it at the beginning of the show, but it's funny because Mr. Hubert here makes a great point. He goes, the XRP bears, they switched their narrative from XRP is worth nothing without Ripple to now Ripple is worth nothing without XRP. And I absolutely love it. And that's just the truth, guys. It went from XRP is irrelevant. Shout out to this is so funny. Live chat's making me laugh. I apologize for getting caught up on my words. But somebody said Ripple is worth nothing without XRP. Ripple is worth a bunch without XRP, and XRP is still existing and worth a bunch without Ripple. The best part is this relationship compounds the worth of these companies, or of these blockchain ecosystems. And that's pretty much the reality of it, guys. I also wanted to give you guys a special thank you. So as you guys know, I got my first ever partner, ITrust Capital, and I want to give a special shout out to Ethan becoming a new member. Shout out to you, my friend. Thank you very much. First ever partnership, and I waited years for this. I waited for the right company. I partnered with ITrust Capital. We got our numbers back yesterday, and it was phenomenal. We blew away expectations. So I just wanted to give a big thank you to anybody who clicks on the link, checks out the ITrust Capital link, because again, what's the benefit of this product? Using a Roth, you can get crypto exposure, an IRA, tax-free. You can compound your wealth tax-free through an IRA product. This is something that I use. This is something that Johnny uses. And again, I have my crypto portfolio, but I also had an IRA because of my employment. And I thought, why not make my IRA have crypto exposure? And ITrust Capital just became a very natural partner. Thank you so much to anybody who signed up, anybody who funded your account. And if you're taking advantage of this, I'm sure you're here for how great the product is, not because of my pitch or anything. If you guys enjoy this product, my saying is, it's not about how much money you make. It's about how much money you keep during these crypto bull markets. And creating a tax-free strategy is the best way to do it. Using promo code GEC9, click on the link below for ITrust Capital. And guess what? You're going to get $100 to start funding your account. And it doesn't work against your principal. Meaning, if you're only allowed to allocate $7,000 into your Roth IRA, well, this $100 doesn't work against that. So pretty cool, guys. And we're going to continue to give giveaways. Now, I did get some insight too into yield-bearing products. I can't say much. I shouldn't say anything. But what I can say is that when there are reliable yield-earning products for you guys, I'm going to present them to you. That's pretty much all I can say on the matter. I've been in touch with several companies, been in touch with Uphold, been in touch with ITrust. That's coming for the XRP community. And I promise you, GEC, you guys are going to have first knowledge and first access when these products are launched. But if you enjoy this and you want to figure out, what is ITrust all about, click on the link below, check out the website, and guys, put in your email. Once again, this thing, someone said, now we're talking apps, right? Listen, I got to be honest. I used Nexo back in the day because I could get 6% on my XRP. I am waiting for the day when I can start getting that 6% on XRP. And photographer said, we're number one. Guys, you were literally number one. Out of all the people who are newer to ITrust, we blew the expectations away. We have the best community. And that's what I want to give a big thank you and shout out to. Hostile Takeover said, just remember what commodity means, and you'll understand why BTC isn't a commodity. Every single country needs to use it every day. That's not ever going to happen. I agree. You know what? It's very true. Someone said, creating wealth with a skill abs helps the people. A skill helps the people. Thank you very much, Pete. I agree. Creating wealth is really simple. Like from a standpoint of, if you can borrow money, this is the funniest part. And I'm not a financial advisor. I don't give financial advice, but it's Conspiracy Friday and we're 43 minutes into this episode. Think about it this way, guys. If you know that you can earn more than 4% on your money, and the bank is willing to give you $100,000 at 4%, and you put it into a product that's 5, 6, 8, 9%, you are going to be able, that's free money, right? For the best part. And that's what the whole thing about making money is. Can you take your wealth and get it into assets that outpace inflation or outpace the borrowing rate that you've gotten that money from? This is what the wealthy do. When they talk about wealthy, they don't sell their assets, they borrow against them. That's a great example, right? Using wealth to generate income that outpaces the interest rate you've borrowed that wealth for. Many of our community members, I'm sure, have already figured this out, but for the newer people, we are going to be ultra wealthy over these next few years, right? I'm entitled to my own opinion. That is absolutely my opinion. The XRP community, if you guys stay for the next 2, 3, 4 years, and everyone's like, that's so long. Guys, 4 years, 3 years is not a long time. Just yesterday, it was COVID. Now tomorrow, it'll be 2030. And I think we all understand that. If we're patient enough and these products pay out and these products end up playing out to our advantage, we are going to be ultra wealthy, and we're going to have to figure out a way to preserve that wealth. How do we get it into sustainable yield generating income? And that's what I'm going to be doing here on the Good Evening Crypto channel as well. So massive shout out and thank you. We got 4,500 people here. If you enjoyed today's content, smash that like button on the way out of here. I'm sure we blew our like goal away, so I want to give a huge thank you. And we did get a bunch of new members, guys. I can give you the live update. Let me tell you exactly how many members we officially have as part of the Good Evening Crypto community. We just passed 100. We are now at 102 members in the Good Evening Crypto community. Thank you so much. And as you guys know, it's $4.99. It costs a cup of coffee. You get a badge in chat. You get priority comments. You get membership access, which means we're going to host members only live streams about once a month, maybe. And we're also going to be giving you guys videos. So pretty cool, but it's more so just if you want to help us and support us. I don't encourage anybody to do it, right? It's like, if you want to help us out, we're so appreciative and we're going to provide that value. But if you don't, you just like watching the content for free and hitting the like button or participating in the live chat, that is totally cool as well. Keep watching for free. We appreciate each and every single one of you. And again, my perception is, guys, we are going to get ultra wealthy. The XRP community over these next 3 or 4 years, forget about $1,000 XRP. If XRP even goes to $20, $30, $50 in the next 3 or 4 years, which my belief is it will, you guys are going to be so happy. Like, we're going to figure out ways to make the most of that wealth. And that's kind of what I'm most excited about, guys. So I'm optimistic. When people ask me about the future, there's a lot of people who are pessimistic, you know, we're going to fall in age, all this stuff. I think a lot of times how we feel about reality is dictated by the conversations that we have internally. Remain optimistic, guys. You are an extremely unique individual to have even found XRP and got exposure to XRP. Don't be so judgmental about how that journey occurs. Patience will pay off in the end. And I think a lot of our listeners and the people who have been here in this live chat, you guys are the ones who are going to benefit. And I'm super excited about that. So with that being said, we love you guys. Big thank you. The bad YouTuber just became a brand new member. So now we're at 103. Big thank you to each and every single one of you. If you enjoyed this content, smash that like button, subscribe to the brand new channel. And I'm going to call it brand new until it's at least like a year old here. But again, you're going to get an 11 a.m. update. You'll get a 5:30 p.m. update, and you get to interact with the best community in all of crypto. We did pass 700 likes on the show. Shout out to you guys. It's a Friday. Go out, touch some grass, hug some family, turn on some of your favorite music, dance in the car. It's okay to celebrate. It's okay to be optimistic. Seems like we're in a day and age where we're only allowed to be pessimistic and bearish. You can also be happy. You can also be optimistic. And we're going to be here to share those moments together. So we love you guys. We appreciate you all. Shout out to the old black dad who just became another member in our live chat as well. Big thank you to you. That's his username, guys. I got to read it. I read all the usernames. So shout out to you. We love you guys. We appreciate you all. Have an amazing day. And we'll see you all in 72 hours. Like we always say, get your shit together, baby. And we'll see you all in the next one.
You're going to be so proud of your president, and I don't care about that. But you are going to be so proud of your country because we're going to turn it around and we're going to start winning again. We're going to win so much. We're going to win at every level. We're going to win economically. We're going to win with the economy. We're going to win with military. We're going to win with healthcare and for our veterans. We're going to win with every single facet. We're going to win so much, you may even get tired of winning. And you'll say, please, please, it's too much winning. We can't take it anymore. Mr. President, it's too much. And I'll say, no, it isn't. We have to keep winning. We have to win more. See, the bottom line is, well, you don't know much about crypto. You know nothing about nothing. You fake news.
So if you're looking to do the same strategies that we implement here on Good Evening Crypto, I would advise everybody sign up for Merlin and click on the ITrust Capital link below. Now, why did these two ideas play off one another? Merlin is going to allow our listeners to understand where they should be taking profit in this market. And ITrust is going to allow our listeners to take that profit tax-free through an IRA product. Now, that's not the best part about this. We are giving new clients a $100 sign-up bonus using the promo code GEC9. So I would encourage everybody, click on the link below the video, use promo code GEC9, and set yourself up for success during this crypto bull